forth. But the next question, and don't worry, we're going to go to some more of the audience questions after 2 more questions here from our journalists. Kevin, now you have one, actually. I think that's the one from the audience.
So we had a question submitted on the website from a Mike Petrakis. And it was interesting because it resonated with one of our own questions. So I'll tie them both together. I'll read his and then I'll pull in our connection. He says, "It is my understanding that your message embodies the I'm sorry, this is addressed to Brett. Your message embodies the relationship between philanthropy and entrepreneurialism. With this message fully incorporated on an international scale, what could the world ideally look like in the future?" And I'll tie that to frame it a little bit, because our other question was going to be, in view of the reality of Bill Gates giving away the great bulk of his fortune to a foundation, does that really take away some of the direction that people take when they're trying to build an enormous fortune and grow an entrepreneurial venture? So those two kind of tie together in a way.
Whoa. I wish I had 2 hours, because you're stumbling into sort of the soft spot of my favorite topics. And 2 of them are, what constitutes entrepreneurial philanthropy? I think philanthropy has to be done in a far more proactive, intelligent, and articulate way, again, in an entrepreneurial way. And at the same time, we need entrepreneurs to be philanthropic, socially responsible, have a social conscience, build the world to be a better place. And both of those really run in parallel. The philanthropic entrepreneur and the entrepreneurial philanthropist run in parallel. They're completely different, and I think both are extraordinarily important. Now, by the way, on that Bill Gates push to have 20 or 50 or 100 of the world's multi-billionaires give away half their wealth, I call bull on that. Because in reality, when you die, there's only 2 places your wealth can go, children or charity. And if you accept that unearned wealth is often destructive, that the children of wealth are often suffering from entitlement, from affluenza, how much wealth do you really want to leave your children with? So if you're worth a couple of billion and you're going to give away half, that means you're leaving $1 billion, in theory, to your children. How screwed up are those kids going to be? And so unless they're set up in a way to manage that kind of wealth, they don't need it, they didn't earn it, there's absolutely no reason. So I'm one of the few people who might have called bullshit, or called, who broadcasting? Who called bull on that whole concept. I mean, they're all very proud of themselves, this chest beating that was going on, and whereas I've been very public about the fact that my kids are going to get a snippet, and that's it. In fact, I comment publicly that I'm wealthy, I'm rich, but my children aren't. And so it's a matter of deciding what you want to do with your wealth while you're alive. Giving from the grave or guiding while living, 2 different things. But I would rather change the world while I'm walking on the face of the earth than wait for my estate to distribute something to the... anyways, I can go around for that, but you get a sense of how I feel about it.
That's a great answer. So that addresses the Bill Gates angle, but what about the other one from our reader about the international... What's the global opportunity here?
Well, it's obviously an impossible question, but my vision of what the world would look like would be small town Saskatchewan in 1975. Winters are cold, summers are warm, but we used to leave our back door open. Front door was locked, so if people came to the house, they knew we weren't home. But you left the back door open in case you had to get something. It was a place that was just a lot gentler, kinder, safer. It's a world that I think we still could achieve.
That was 35 years ago.
Good point.
And you were still driven, though, to move away from it. Was it people are asking questions, what's your goals as an entrepreneur? Is it being a millionaire, multi-millionaire, like tens and not a billion? When you started out, was there an aspect, did you have an idea how far, or did it matter, or was it, I just want these toys, or or was it the independence, or just not to the point where I didn't have to worry about money? How did you set your goals as an entrepreneur for your success?
When I started out, I had my priorities all screwed up. What I wanted was power, wealth, and fame. I got that and realized I'd left behind a family and a whole pile of happiness. So my priorities had to shift at a point in life. And people can say, well, it's easy now, you've got money. But it's still a choice about where you spend your time every day. And in my case, my children take priority. My phone is on. If one of the kids called, I'd take it and tell them I'll call them back. But I would take the call. It doesn't really matter who I'm with or where I am. But that wasn't a decision. I mean, for many years, my kids, if they wanted to get a hold of me, as far as I was concerned, they could reach me on voicemail and I'd call them back later. Pathetic? Yes. Did it generate some element of success? If you define success by celebrity, wealth, power, a large corner office, yeah, I got it. But if you define success by happiness, I was suffering. So until you reevaluate how you want to chase the world, and that's where my point is, when I watch some of my fellow entrepreneurs who've achieved the 100, 200, 500, $1 billion in wealth, and they're driven to create more, I think it's ego and nothing else.
When did you, and I'm going to come to you on Gloria, on what your goals for success are. When did you realize you sat there and said, wow, I made it? Was there a defining moment? Was it a sales
First
call
10
that came in?
million, made 10 million on a deal one time, I thought I was done. Then realized the following Monday that I could do it again. And so infectiously away we went. And so was there a single defining moment? No. I think there were some issues where I took some time and took therapy and treatment around what might have been work addiction or issues related to that. There's a whole story there. But probably the defining moment in terms of the kick in the ass to relook at my priorities was being diagnosed with cancer.
And I know there's a few questions on that, the life balance.
That's all, it's all on the web.
Yeah. And Gloria, when you started out, did you put any, like, I want to be at this level, this is where I'm going to deem it that I'm successful? How about yourself?
First of all, I feel guilty for not having my phone on, just in case my son calls. But you're making me
keep
feel
my
good.
handy
It's not
phone.
good. It's not good. For me, I just, when I started my company, I left a job making $75,000 annually. And when I made $20,000 a month, it was a big deal. And then from there, my goal was to earn $100,000 a month, And today, I'm earning $1 million a month, over $1 million a month. That's my monthly revenue. Now, is that a defining moment? I don't know, because there's so much more that I could be doing. My head is like a traffic jam. There's so many ideas inside of my head, and I know it can be done. There's a need for what I do. We're talking about the government and healthcare in Ontario. The government in future years might not be able to sustain healthcare in Ontario. It's positioning myself to help to subsidize that healthcare. So there's a lot of ideas. So I don't believe that I've met that defining moment just
But
yet.
when you leapt in, did you have family support? Did you know?
I had family support in terms of just advising me to do what I needed to do. I didn't have financial support. I didn't have a bank that was willing to do that, get that investment into me, to provide me with that investment. I didn't have any financial advisors to tell me, was I doing the right thing? Was I doing the wrong thing? Was I taking too much of a risk? I didn't know what I was getting into. But like I said, I'm glad I got into it 10 years ago than today. Because today, to get into my industry is a lot tougher.
When did you
than it
think you
was
were over
10
the
years
hump,
ago.
though? Like, you weren't just treading water
I
anymore?
think 2 years into my business. 2 years
Years?
into my business.
And what
I
was
think.
that? That you could meet payroll without sweating it, or what?
Well, I could always meet payroll because it's a very good cash flow industry that I'm in. It's legislated. Timelines for payment is legislated to 30 days. Beyond that, interest is incurring. So for me, it wasn't really a cash flow issue. It was just knowing that I was able to meet payroll, I was able to grow my company and put money in the bank.
Okay, very good.